I like the Grace ban here. That's really, really solid for Immortals because honestly, they won with Grace twice. So I think taking Grace away is going to help them hopefully have some better fights in the late game here.
And they need to find some way to deal with what happens when these fights go incredibly long. Banning away the Grace, I think, was a great first step. They obviously are going to ban away the Batiste so that they don't allow the Catherine Batiste to go over. But now we have the Enzio likely to have this Adagio, and I cannot wait to see Enzio versus Old School with either of them being on the Adagio, but especially Enzio taking it this time.
This is going to be one heck of a matchup. The Catherine was the first pick up there for Cloud9, and it dictates the Batiste ban from the side of Immortals, and now Cloud9 deciding what to ban for themselves.
Yeah, and here I think they're going to decide to potentially ban away Glaive and not give Adagio Glaive. But if they do that, then Immortals will probably take a Black Feather. Yep, so hopefully Immortals takes out the Black Feather here because honestly, they're not going to pick Lyra, they're not going to pick Arden, they're not going to pick Finn, etc. Black Feather would be a solid pick here. But instead, they're going to go for the Lyra and just leave it open, I guess, for the side of Cloud9.
And once again, we're going to see one of these double heal compositions coming into play. However, Vox is still on the cards. So is things like Fortress. Obviously, Fortress alongside the Catherine not going to be too likely, but definitely the Mortal Wounds are going to be available for Cloud9.
Yeah, they can probably do Fortress Vox or Koshka Vox. I think will potentially come out. Vox is pretty good into the Poison Shiv here for sure.
Yeah, and obviously we know Cloud9 more than happy to go to the Vox. They've already pulled it out a couple of times this weekend. They've pulled it out plenty of times in the regular season, so I would very much expect to see the Vox come out just to get those quick Mortal Wounds applications for anyone who...
Oh, they're going to go with Celeste. That is really risky because Lyra Portal onto a Celeste is extremely dangerous, and we've seen Immortals just execute that so well against TSM. So now if they pick Cruel here, Immortals will just pick up the Black Feather, and we've seen T-Tigers on Black Feather. He can beat a Cruel pretty handily, so I think they're going to probably pick the Cruel because if they don't pick Cruel, they're going to give it Immortals, and that's even worse to face because Cruel on his Celeste, as we've seen Joseph do, was just devastating. Here goes the Black Feather pick, and I think Immortals hopefully will take this comp away.
And while it won't be as effective at applying the Mortal Wounds as a Vox, the Cruel can still apply the Mortal Wounds by getting a Poison Shiv, but this Black Feather pick could be extremely influential in this game.
This is going to be an absolute brawl with the two major carries going to be in melee range, and then the Celeste and the Adagio on the backline trying to dish out the damage themselves. This is going to be what it all comes down to for Cloud9. If they can take this game, they will be back-to-back champions in the Western Hemisphere. Immortals do not want that to happen. They want to kick off a reverse sweep. They want to keep themselves in this series. It's going to be so difficult. Look at this. Across 2 games, 88,500 damage coming out from Old School. That is a ridiculous statistic to be boasting. Let's see how much he's got after this 3rd game. It's time to get on into this one.
An amazing series, Scoundrel. Game 3 on the horizon. Cloud9 1 away from becoming back-to-back champions. Can Immortals come back?
They've certainly got the composition to do so. The Adagio Lyra pick with the Black Feather is something that they've played throughout this tournament, and they've played it directly into Celeste as well, as we head already onto the fold.
Wow. It is almost a loss of words, Scoundrel, to describe this series, other than just 2 of the most fantastic North American teams butting heads. Max Green in trouble, but look at Enzio's damage. It will just be Joseph getting the first blood nonetheless. A Spectral Smite comes through, and Cloud9, I believe, finding their first blood of this series.
So Immortals have made that same move over and over again, usually as a trio, but this time tried it as a duo. Fool me once, whatever. Fool me twice, shame on you, and it's not going to happen the 3rd time, is it? So, you know, they caught him out. They caught out that Immortals early move, and it was very well placed from C9. They knew what was going to happen. Immortals have tried it every single time and got away with it. This time they do not.
Let's talk about this Adagio for Enzio. It has been so influential throughout this entire weekend, paired with T-Tigers on this Black Feather, it's almost becoming a signature pick for Dienzio.
It's funny because I talked to Dienzio about this in between his semi-final and his final sort of appearance, and he said, you know what, I don't even like playing Adagio. It's become my signature pick, and it's the same with Old School. They both don't really like playing him. They'd rather play something else, but they're so good with Adagio, and it works in so many compositions for them that they almost are sort of required to do so.
It's going to be a stun coming down onto Max Green. Joseph was kind of in range from the tri-bush with his passive can charge on over, but it isn't going to be an execute Cloud9 currently looking for. They've already got that first Blooded Scoundrel, which means that they have the opportunity to allow Old School now to farm up and scale up on this Celeste.
But this Immortals composition is almost an anti-Celeste composition. What they usually do is they allow T-Tigers to deliver a Gift of Fire, they give him the Agent of Wrath, and then they have the sustain with that Lyra Sigil, as well as the ability to restrict Old School's movements with the Bright Bulwark. And they are able to just basically barrel in and delete Old School. That's kind of how they've played this composition into a Celeste over and over again. A lot of it relies on T-Tigers hitting item spikes very quickly, which is why you're seeing him stray away from the action and focus on farming. He's going to go for the Sorrow Blade first as well.
Oh, Dienzio, Max Green, they're in so much trouble. Cloud9, though, weren't interested in sticking around. Old School, a single auto attack from him would have been the difference to find that kill.
So usually T-Tigers works towards his Sorrow Blade. There is a cause where some people have gone the Tension Bow. Still, I think Sorrow Blade's a better consistent damage output, and when you're playing a consistent, sustained fight with an Adagio and a Lyra, often you're just going to get more efficacy out of that Sorrow Blade. So that's where, again, T-Tigers not interested in dueling early on, like we said, just trying to farm up, get the gold behind him, and work towards those pretty significant item spikes.
What I want to see, Scoundrel, from Immortals is a change in pace. The previous game, they certainly attempted to be the playmakers, but they weren't ever able to take the steering wheel of the game. They were wrestling for it, but Cloud9 held on with a firm grip. Immortals, they need to find this really early lead so that they can just push Cloud9 under.
Cloud9 are the kings, though, of these late-game team fights, which is where they have been winning. You know, where the single mechanical mistake can spell the end of your team fight and the end of the game. That is where we have known C9 to be successful, and they are proving it throughout this series. They just have that prowess of a monster team-fighting team. Every single time this goes to the late game, and every single time it's because Cloud9 play a team fight to another level.
It's all about finding that next level then for Immortals and seeing if they can scale up. We know that Dienzio on live championships gets a bit of a buff, and he has certainly shown up here. The amazing KDAs, amazing stats all around. T-Tigers and Max Green joining him up there in that department. Cloud9 group up. They are moving into the lane. Joseph looking at his build, splitting his item focus a little, perhaps going towards the Sigma still first. T-Tigers though onto Old School. That's a lot of damage immediately, but he can't quite find the kill. Pushing Joseph back as well. Immortals have taken over the lane here. We'll have to see if they can get any damage.
Excellent stun from Gabe Bizzle to prevent the execute coming out from T-Tigers, meaning that Old School was able to back off without too much reprise. Joseph's going to jump back in, not yet level 6. But is pretty close to it, so once he hits that, we'll have that bit of CC added to his kit. What I want to touch on is the double silence from Gabe Bizzle, which we know is coming. It will be down the line, that teamfight impact, against a team that relies on abilities to sustain and also empower T-Tigers on this Black Feather.
Old School's under the turret. He's just completely removed from the map. That is just so much damage. Picking a Celeste, we've seen Immortals run this composition time and time again. When we were looking at the draft before this game, we called it out, and they picked Celeste into it. Black Feather's known for being such a fun, threatening hero into Celeste.
So one of Celeste's main sort of defensive abilities is the use of core collapse. For instance, the Truth of Light showed us exactly how you can decimate a melee threat with the core collapse. Palmotoro was on the receiving end of some of those mechanical plays. But Black Feather has the ability with Rose Offensive to just circumnavigate that, get straight through it and jump and keep close to Celeste, which is something that Celeste obviously hates. Weapon Power Black Feather is often considered a very good pick into Celeste for that specific reason. Can stick to Celeste and obviously has the ability to execute her too.
Tigers sitting on so much gold right now as he's going to finish his jungle clear.
Massive aheads in terms of farm as well compared to Joseph, and that's because, again, He's a very gold-hungry carry, and from the jungle you don't get the same level of gold input that you would do from the lane, so it is a lot harder to make a Weapon Power Blackfeather hit certain item spikes, and Weapon Power Blackfeather is a very item-dependent carry. That's why T-Tigers has been so focused on farming, because he is so reliant on his gold income to be good, because he wants to hit those item spikes very quickly and very readily, and Immortals taking a leaf out of the C9 book, when there is no threat, let's take objectives.
Well, it is going to be the gold miner taken by Immortals. First turret is theirs. The first gold miner is theirs as well. A 2,000 gold lead currently at Scoundrel. Dienzio has that alternating current building towards his next offensive item. Max Screen with a Crucible as well can block up the stuns that can come out of a Gay Vizzle.
You notice that Old School hasn't gone for a Frostburn first, because Frostburn is going to be less effective against a team that can basically get through your abilities. If you're not landing abilities, your Frostburn's not going to be as effective, and you don't have the range pre-level 8 to make the maximum use out of it either. So he's going for the pure wave clear, he's going for the energy regeneration, he's going for the sustain, all of which will be very important. But look at this, Immortals, they're not done, the silence comes out.
T-Tigers will dance away, but is he in trouble is the question. Dienzio is so far from the fight, moves on in, Old School taking so much damage, he goes down, Dienzio finds a kill, and a burst of judgment will be blocked. The Crystal Sentry removed its first life taken, and Immortals going to steal away the backs as well from Cloud9.
7 minutes and a 3k gold lead. Have we seen a lead like this in this series for a team early on? This is why Weapon Power Blackfeather is so good into a Celeste. You just absolutely crush her. You stick to her, she can't peel. Your team struggles to peel because you're a Blackfeather, you've got Rose Offensive. And T-Tigers takes a very, very forward position. And the sustain that you provide that Blackfeather, the ability to slow her with the Gift of Fire, the ability to empower your basic attacks with the Agent of Wrath, mean Old School is in a very tricky situation, and he has been forced to buy very early armor. Look at this, item slot efficiency out the window for Old School right now. He can't go for all of that CP that you generally see on Celeste. He has had to force to buy these defensive items because he's just not surviving long enough.
And Joseph doesn't really have damage himself. The utility item second, tier 3, now building towards what would be a breaking point, you feel, third. Cloud9 are lost. All of a sudden, this series has been such a tight affair. Cloud9 leading the charge, but Immortals diving in, wanting to set a new tempo. Gay Vizzle will be okay under the turret, and Immortals haven't quite found the engage onto Old School that they wanted. They can stick around if they want and really bait Cloud9 over to the jungle where the Crystal Sentry lies.
Now the Crystal Sentry going down, and you might wonder why they're putting so much focus on the Crystal Sentry. With a team that will want to chase, they're going to limit the area. Oh, wait a second, Old School a little bit far up here.
Yeah, T-Tigers dives on in. That's going to be a huge slow, but a good stun core collapse onto T-Tigers. He gets smited. Old School throws that Solar Storm towards Dienzio, who gets silenced by the Blast Tremor, but Cloud9 are in no position to chase.
Good defense from Cloud9 though. Use the Rose Offensive to close the gap instead of dodge the CC, and the really nicely timed and placed CC from C9 kept T-Tigers out of the fight and Old School safe. You can see Immortals are restless. They want to find these fights, they want to push their advantage, and by doing so, maybe making a few errors here and there. None that are being punished by C9 because C9 aren't in a position to punish right now.
Immense gold
and another gold payout
collected.
collected by Immortals. And again, global objectives. Something that C9 has been doing across this series has now been adopted by this Immortals roster. They are the ones controlling the map. They are the ones taking off these objectives.
One thing that Immortals have made known is that Dienzio is a damn good scarf. So much so that it's become the priority ban in pretty much every series we've seen Immortals in so far. But this Adagio Black Feather Lyra composition is a killer. A killer that has yet to be stopped as well. And Cloud9, and maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves, were to fall here, would now have to completely reconsider what their priorities are in the draft.
Well, I know Joseph has reconsidered his priorities in terms of itemization. He's gone for a Shiver Steel. Wait a second.
It's Max Screen going in, T-Tigers onto Old School, Dienzio. He's
just
ran
dead!
in, and that's a kill. A burst of judgment. It stuns up too, and now it's going to be Immortals looking for the ace. They get it, and now they can take a turret.
This is just compositional advantage executed to a T. Immortals won the draft, and you can see it paying off right now. Old School already respawned. The timers are so quick. as the choke point turret goes down at 11 minutes. This is an 8,000 gold advantage for Immortals, the likes we have not yet seen in this final. Immortals have found a second wind, and my goodness, it is a strong one. They're going to clear out the jungle once more. A single Crystal Sentry life left available, and we are only 11 minutes into this game.
Scoundrel, what an incredible game this has been. Here's that team fight. Immortals diving on top of Old School.
Yeah, again, they portal through. It's a good way to close the gap to make sure that Old School isn't able to control the pace at range. You directly get on top of him, and T-Tigers then doesn't have to use the Rose offensive to clear gaps. He can use it to just dodge the core collapse. He can use it to dodge the From Hell's Heart or the stun from Catherine as well. And he's been doing that so well. It just shows you why Power Blackfeather is just so good into this type of composition. He just gets through any kind of peel that you want to throw. The Shiver Steel is there specifically to try and just slow him down. It's no longer an offensive item here for Joseph. It's just to slow down T-Tigers, to give some measure of space to Old School to back off. Not working though, because Rose Defense is a darn good gap closing ability.
Yeah, and Immortals are uncontested at the moment in their map control, taking down and eliminating a Crystal Sentry at 12.5.
Well, C9's safe space on the map has now been taken away. That is what you do by eliminating Crystal Sentry this early. No longer can you retreat to your own jungle to try and win a team fight if you're behind. That safe space is gone. Immortals can chase you down to the ends of the earth, or the Halcyon Fold if we're going to be correct here. Immortals,
13 minutes, they're looking for Cloud9. They are in the driver's seat of this vehicle, this vessel, and Cloud9 are currently staring at it, waiting for it to connect. It's all about what Immortals do next and how they do it and how Cloud9 can respond to it. That will be the hope for Cloud9 to stay in this game.
2 minutes and the Kraken comes up, but I imagine Immortals want to do something before that. But you can see C9 are so reluctant to even push into their own side. Exactly, they can't afford to go to their jungle anymore. It's not their jungle. Immortals now control it. It is Immortals' jungle. They roam everywhere, and you can see C9's only way is to freeze the lane here in base and try and farm Old School up. It's going to take a very long time to do that. You have 1 minute and then Kraken spawns, and suddenly that tactic is no longer going to work. But C9, you can see, are very, very scared. 10,000 gold in the lead are Immortals. This is a very dominant way to come back into the series.
Certainly is, and if you're an Immortals fan right now, you are on the edge of your seat. A series that has been such a long affair, such a string of emotion, and yet you haven't quite been able to find the win, the W that you deserve. Now you are in that commanding position. Cloud9, what can they do to survive? The Kraken is only 25 seconds away.
Well, you could try and get the Celeste late game, but it's going to be a very long process. And look at this, Immortals are not even going to give C9 the space. They're not going to push this wave back in. They're going to allow the wave to push towards them. They've got that map space to work with. They don't mind if a minion wave from C9 crashes into their first tier turret. They don't mind at all because they'll be able to clear it very quickly. They are starving everything but ambient gold away from C9 here. They're going to bring C9 either to the minion wave or to the Kraken, and that's where they're going to pounce. Very intelligent wave control from Immortals. Very intelligent map play. They are giving C9 no element of a bone. As Kraken, she spawns.
How do Immortals now decide to play? That is the question. Are they going to push this wave in? Bait Cloud9 to the limited amount of gold they have and then force them to the middle of the map. Immortals moving towards this shop so they can get those infusions in hand and start building up those items. And Cloud9 are not interested in what Immortals are selling. They're going to sit in base and wait. This Kraken is going to go over to Immortals, Scoundrel, and there's nothing that Cloud9 can do to stop it.
They could do a random Celeste ultimate if they wanted to, but it would be very, very difficult to get the steal. And I mean, Immortals don't even think that's going to happen. They're just waiting this out. They're actually going to allow T-Tigers to go back to his backs, and they're going to delay the Kraken spawn so T-Tiger can take his backs, he can shop and then join Kraken for a unified push. He's going towards Critical Strike. He's going for burst heavy weapon power Blackfeather. He's in a position where he can do so. Absolutely. Tyrant's Monocle should get finished now for him, and he can pick up an infusion while he's there as well. Big item spikes picked up here for Immortals. This should be the final push for them.
There's an echo for Gabe Vizzle. It is a Echo. The only thing that they can do is silence up Immortals as they can't commit to a fight and blow up DNC ulti Tigers.
But Celeste is the linchpin of this C9 composition. She doesn't have the item spikes to have the damage output necessary to even contend with Immortals right now. And Immortals are going to make a slow move towards these turrets.
It has been calculated, it has been precise by Immortals, but the Kraken has now connected with the Vein Crystal turrets. Team Tigers will finish off the first, and Cloud9 are not even looking for the fight, trying to whittle down the Kraken's health bar. But here comes Immortals onto Old School, pushing him back. Vein Crystal turrets falling, and this is Immortals finding the win. We've got a series on our hands.
Outdrafted, outplayed, and crushed C9 from the